Hello, greetings, and welcome back to Miss T.L.L. Lichuti English First Additional Language Lessons. And these are final preparation lesson for final examination. What I'm going to take you through in this one, I'm going to take you through the concepts of question 5, because I believe that before you can attempt to revise each and every section, you must have what you call predictions, which can be equated to a scope more or less, but these are the concepts, if not topics that you must understand in question 5 paper 1 that you'll be writing tomorrow. Doing this video on a Sunday and you're writing tomorrow, and I felt the need to take you through so that when you get the question paper already, you're not shocked. You won't be shocked, rather. I'm sorry, you won't be shocked by any question in question 5, because already you have done your predictions and you have prepared yourself accordingly, ensuring that you cover all the components, if not all the sub questions of question 5 that examiners indeed ask. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm just going to take you behind the brain, pardon me, behind the brain of the examiner, so that you know it's safer and it's an effective method of studying if you study knowing that I'm channeling my studying towards these particular questions, because these are the questions that are expected from the examiners, or these are the concepts that I must know, because I'm definitely going to get questions based on them. And the structure of question 5 doesn't change. This is language editing and language skills and editing. The questions do not change. If you can look at the previous question papers, the questions are merely the same. However, some of the questions might be there, some of the questions might not be there, but predominantly these are the concepts that you must expect tomorrow when you take your question 5. And the nice part about it is that all these concepts that I'm going to take you through as a part of the scope of predictions are there in my channel. If you can check my old videos, I did cover all these concepts one. So what I'm trying to show you is that if in your preparation today for tomorrow, please ensure that you don't just grab a previous question paper and do question 5. What is important is to study all these components that I'm going to take you through now, one by one, and then study the rules. With language, all you need to do all you need to know and understand are the rules for each and every concept. For example, the rules for changing active and passive, the rules for changing direct and indirect. And I've done justice to that in my previous videos. In my old videos, I did unpack all these concepts one by one. So I would advise that you check my old videos and go through all of them. And then thereafter, that's when now you can take a question paper to tackle question 5. Now, let's go into it. Right, the first thing that you are going to get tomorrow, you are going to get 4 sentences. Examiner will give you 4 sentences with deliberate errors, and then you will be expected to correct the errors. That is the first question in question 5. And there is a video that I have made that gives you the tips on how to identify error. For example, the first thing, you must check spelling. If all the words are spelled correctly in those sentences, you must check what you call concord. What do we mean by concord? Concord is nothing but word agreement in a sentence. Sometimes they call it subject-verb agreement, that for any sentence in English to make sense, the words must agree. So you may, and for you to pick up that there's a concord error, just read the sentence out in your heart. If you hear that the words do not flow, automatically you would know that the error there is a concord. The error might also be tense. And then lastly, the error might be punctuation. Please check the video where I unpack errors, because I've done that into details. I'm just going through it roughly here. And then punctuation, I'm not talking about full stop, I'm not talking about comma, I'm not talking about semicolon, I'm not talking about hyphen, but indeed I'm talking about the use of an apostrophe mark. The use of an apostrophe mark. You might find that the word is there in a sentence. For example, the word don't might be there, but written like this, then you know that the error is that you must just punctuate it like this, and then that is how you correct the error. And still on the error, please make sure that you follow the examiner's instruction, please. The instruction is always the same. Identify a single error in a particular sentence and correct it. It does not say rewrite the sentence. So do not rewrite the sentence. Each and every question in question 5, it's unique actually across the question paper. Please ensure that you adhere to the instruction of the examiner so that you don't find yourself committing unnecessary errors and mistakes, therefore forfeiting marks unnecessarily. So please ensure that you just, for me, I would say it is safer to just write the correct answers. Don't even start by saying these are the errors, next to the errors these are the corrected versions. Just look into the sentences and with a pen or pencil in your question paper, underline the errors, correct them, and then in your answer book tomorrow, just go straight to the responses and provide the errors that you have identified for sentences. So please check that video. Once you check it, you'll be able to collect the first 4 marks, which is correction of errors. Another concept that you must be aware of and expect tomorrow is change of tenses. And then when you change tenses, you might be given a sentence perhaps in a present tense, and examiner say change it into a simple past tense or change it into a future tense. Remember, what determines the tense in a sentence is actually the verb. So for us to know what tense or the sentence is in what tense, we look at the verb. So please make sure that you know your tenses correctly, especially those of a simple past tense. Please ensure that you know how to change words. For example, she holds a cup. Then examiner say that you must change it into a simple past tense. Of course, we are going to say she. The action that she is performing here is to hold. So remember, for us to know that tense is changing, you look into a verb, and then we'll say that she held, because remember now we are changing it into a simple past tense. She held what? A cup. So please ensure that you know, especially simple past tense, because some learners will go to an extent of making errors such as to say she holded, and show that you know how tense or how verbs change in as far as a simple past tense is concerned. Please revise that as well. Now, the third concept, you are going to get a question where you'll be asked to change a sentence from active to passive voice. That this one is it's given. Let us just do this. Yeah, thank you. Grade 12, I'll tell you something. If you don't know the rules, in question 5, you won't make it. Don't be lazy to study the rules. So I would say today, when you prepare, please start with the rules. Once you know the rules for each and every concept that I am unpacking here, tomorrow you'll just see yourself flowing or flying in that exam center. Active and passive voice, I would say the common errors that most learners make is tense. You neglect to check the tense of the sentence that you are changing. And again, I do have a video in my YouTube channel. It is just that I struggle to make a playlist. I'll try to make a playlist where I organize all these videos into a playlist to say this is the playlist for paper 1. However, go through my old videos. There is a video where I show you how to change active and passive voice, and I'll also explain into details the rules that you need to know. So in an active voice, the subject performs the action. In a passive voice, you take the object to become the subject of the sentence, then it performs the action. Please, after identifying, because when you get a sentence in the question paper, just identify subject, verb, and an object, and then from there, take the object and start the sentence with it. Please, before you change active to passive voice, verify the tense, because after verifying the tense, you will know the correct auxiliary words to change. To use when changing this. Again, just go through the video, and then you reverse the rules in my video before you can answer question 5. You should also expect a question on report and reported speech. Again, the rules play a major role here. You must know the rules. If the reporting verb is in a past tense, whatever that you are going to report must also be in a past tense. And then please be mindful of the changes that you have to effect, such as time changes, such as demonstratives, such as personal pronoun, because you are not that person. You are not that person. However, you are reporting what that person is saying. Personal pronouns also change. And then what I need to also caution you about is that you have universal facts. For example, in science, we say water expands when forming ice. That is a fact. Whenever you have universal truth and facts, Don't change them into a past tense. Leave them as they are. Of an example, you can also, let us take another example of a universal fact. Another example of an example, you can say, Tabo said the sun orbits around the earth. You can't change it to say Tabo said that the sun orbited around the earth, because now you are diluting it as if now it is no longer something that happens or that shall continue to happen. And then now you're taking it into a past tense. Please be mindful. Read that sentence. If it's a universal fact, leave it in a present tense as it should be, because it's a fact. However, if it's not a fact, please ensure that you change the sentence into a past tense as it is affected by the reporting verb. You must also omit quotation marks, because by virtue of omitting quotation marks, you get a bonus mark for punctuation. However, ensuring that the sentence is correct. And then please, when you get to this one, you are guided by the marks. If you see 4 marks, know that you have to effect 3 changes in that sentence, and then you get the bonus mark for omission of quotation marks, and the full stop must be visible, because for you to get that punctuation mark, we must see the full stop. So the full stop must also be visible. If you have forgotten, God forbid you've forgotten the rules, please go to my old videos and revise the rules. You must also expect a sentence where you'll be asked to join 2 sentences. I think this one, you also need to be careful. Let us make an example here. Coffee is loved by many people. Coffee causes heart attacks. Perfect. Be careful. At times, examiners will indicate how you should start the sentence. At times, they will just say to you, join the sentences. At times, they may say, for an example, start with although. Please make sure that you follow the instruction of the examiner. Don't just write as you please tomorrow. At times, they may say, start with although. Please do that. At times, they may just give you the 2 sentences. What is important when you join the 2 sentences is that, remember now, we are joining them in such a way that they don't become individual sentences anymore, right? You are joining them in such a way that now they become a sentence on its own, which is a single sentence. What is important is that you have coffee here, you have coffee here. So when you join the 2 sentences, you must not repeat the subject, because we already have the subject. You also check the 2 sentences. Are they both positive, or the other one is positive, the other one is negative? If that is the case, remember what you use to join sentences. You use what? Conjunction. You must therefore know the correct conjunctions to join the sentences. Once you use the word and, it means statement 2 supports statement 1, meaning that both the statements are positive. But once you start to introduce conjunctions such as however or but, it means there's a bit of contradiction, whereby statement 2 is in contradiction with statement 1, or in a simple term I can say statement 2 is negative, whereas statement 1 is positive, or vice versa. Coffee is loved by many people is a positive statement. Coffee causes heart attacks, it is a negative statement. So I don't expect you to join a sentences of this nature by using the conjunction and. So if you get rid of the second subject in a second sentence, it means that you need to substitute it with a pronoun. And normally this question, it is 2 marks. So when you start to write it, to say coffee is loved by many people, I will advise that every time start with the first sentence, and then please, after the first sentence, put a comma. After a comma, because that alone is a mark, it's a split mark, and then you say but It also causes heart attacks. Do remember what I've said, then full stop, then you get your tick. Do remember what I've said, that please be mindful of what the examiner will direct you in as far as how to start the sentence. If they say start with although coffee is loved by many people, comma, although coffee is loved by many people, comma, it also causes heart attack, or it causes heart attack also. You get me? So be mindful of such questions and the correct conjunction to use when answering questions of this nature. Let us go to another concept that you must expect tomorrow in question 5. Correct. And then tomorrow, please, you should expect a question where you'll be given a statement and then examiner will ask you to add a question tag. If the statement is positive, the question tag becomes negative, and then if the statement is negative, the question tag becomes positive. Again, I do have a video where I explain question tags into details. Please go through it. She is sick. Then you have this. You are going to use the word is to formulate a question tag. You are going to use the word cannot to formulate a question tag. Here you don't have anything to use, so it's going to be isn't she. So it's a question tag plus the subject, please, and then the question mark. This is how you add a question tag. Pardon me. He cannot is a negative, so the question tag must be positive. So it's going to be can he, question mark. They played well. So what the reason I'm trying to show you this is that it's not in all instances where the sentence that will be used will have an auxiliary word that you can easily use to formulate a question tag. In other instances, you'll come across sentences that you don't have anything. That is where now you have to check tense. They played is a past tense, so we are going to say didn't they. Why do we use the word didn't they? It is because it was in a past tense. Let's take for an example. I say she cooks well. Again, we don't have words such as are, is, can, will to formulate a question tag, but this sentence is in a present tense. We'll say that doesn't she cooks well, doesn't she? So this is how you formulate a question tag, and you must not confuse adding a question tag with changing a statement into a question. When you add a question tag, you add a question tag at the end of the sentence. When you formulate a question when you change a statement from a statement to a question, you change the statement from the beginning. Let us take the very same sentences. We have been adding question tags here. If I were to say now, don't add question tags, but however, what you need to do is to formulate questions. You still do the same, however, you don't add at the end. So she is sick is a sentence on its own. This is a question tag. If I were to formulate the question, I would say you still use is she sick, question mark, full stop. He cannot cook, full stop. Can he cook? Now this is a question. They played well. We say, okay, this is a statement. Did they play well? Remember, why are we using did? Because of the tense played, and then when you change it to a question, played changes to become play, and then she cooks well. We say, does she cook well? Now quickly look at what the verb does when you formulate questions. Played changes to become play because it's affected by did, which is already in a negative. And then does she cook? We need now to omit s for the sentence to be grammatically correct. So don't confuse the two. Here we are formulating questions. Here we are adding question tag. Question tags are added at the end of the statement formulation of question, you start to change the sentence from the beginning. However, you still use the same auxiliary words that you would use to formulate question text. So please don't confuse the two. Tomorrow, again, go through one of the videos where I explain into details how to I even differentiate by using examples how to add question text versus how to formulate questions. And then another concept that you must expect tomorrow, it's a question based on the parts of speech. Remember, when you talk about parts of speech, you are talking about functions of words in a sentence. What are these words, or what is that particular word functions in a sentence, such as nouns. We must know the nouns and their types. The verb, anything that tells us more about the verb is an adverb. All the descriptive words that normally describes nouns, we call them adjectives. Conjunctions, joining words, and prepositions that links the nouns with the rest of the sentence. I call them small words such as of, from, on, at, behind, and so forth. Please, there's a video where I explain exactly the parts of speech and how words can function differently in a sentence. You should expect a question tomorrow where you'll be given a question and then certain words will be underlined and then you'll be asked to identify the parts of speech. Can I also caution you? Don't confuse the figures of speech with parts of speech. Figures of speech, we deal with them in paper too. When we are doing our poems, literature, when you're doing our books, your novels, your drama, and so forth. Tomorrow you cannot expect a question based on any figurative expressions. But now these are the parts of speech. Remember, parts of speech actually mean the functions of words in a sentence. Does the word show a name? Does the word show or describe something which can be an adjective? Does a word modify the verb, which means it tells us more about the verb, then automatically it becomes an adverb. Please go through the video where I do parts of speech into details, because I even made an example to show you how certain words can actually act as an adjective in a particular sentence, only for that word to act as an adverb in a particular sentence, depending on how words are used. So when you get to this section of the question paper, just know that you are looking at the functions of words in a sentence. You must also expect questions around prefix and suffix. This one is easy. Prefix, of course, are words that are added at the beginning of the words to change the meaning of the word, and then suffix are words that are added at the end of the words to change the meaning. For example, we can have the word happy, and then once I add the word an, then the examiner can underline an, and then they say identify the underlined part of the word, then you know indeed it's a prefix. But however, if I can say happiness, then I underline this and I say identify the part of the word that is underlined, then you know definitely it's a what? It's a suffix. So you must also expect questions around prefix and suffix. Correcting the form of the form of words in brackets. You must expect to get a sentence tomorrow with a word in bracket that you need to correct so that the sentence makes sense. I can say happy in bracket is a state of mind. Happy is a state of mind. When I read it, does it make sense? Of course it does not. Happy is a state of mind. Grammatically, it does not, even concord-wise, it does not make sense. So it means the form of word that you need to change. In most cases, when you change the form of word in bracket, you need to add a suffix so that the word makes sense. So you're supposed to say happiness is a state of mind. So you must expect such questions tomorrow. And then you must also expect a question dealing with the degree of comparison. When we are talking about the degree of comparison, remember that we've got what you call the comparative adjective. Comparative adjective, and then you also have what you call superlative. So it means that tomorrow when you get a question around the degree of comparison, you must check how many things or how many people are being compared. In a comparative, that's where you add er or the words more to words that do not change, or you change the words. Remember that words where you cannot add or you add the word more, you change the word completely. You must check how many things are being compared. If it's a superlative, it means that you are comparing amongst a larger group. That's where you add est to the words, or you add the word what, the word most. So for an example, she is more beautiful than her. It's a comparative. You just add the word more to the word beautiful to qualify that comparison. But I can say she is the most beautiful lady in the world. The most, it means now it makes that to be a superlative. So to come up with the correct form of degree of comparison, please, you must check and revise the degree of comparisons in as far as words such as words such as bad. In a comparative, of course, is going to change to become worse, and then in a superlative, it changes to become what? Worst. So it's not all the words where you add er or the word more, est, or the word most in superlative. Other words change drastically. So please be mindful of such words. And the last concept that we are going to go through: homophones, homonyms, antonyms, synonyms. Right, don't confuse homonyms with antonyms, please. Homophones, the sound is the same, the spelling is different, and the meaning is different. For an example, I can have this meat, and then I can have this meat. This one is with A. I can have this C, and then I will see you later. These are homophones. Homonyms, the sound and spellings are the same, but the meanings are different. And for an example, I can have patient. I can also have patient. Now let me show you how examiners ask this question about homonyms. They will give you a sentence with a homonym. For an example, let us make it practical. I am patient. I am patient with you. Right? Then they underline patient. Then they say, use the homonym patient in a sentence of your own. What do? You check the function of patient in the sentence that is used in the question paper. Does it function as a verb? If it's functioning as a verb, it means you must come up now with patient in the form of a noun, so that you don't duplicate the same function as the one that is in the question paper. Because remember, you must demonstrate that you understand that these two words are actually spelled the same and pronounced the same. So I need to come up with a different version, if not the different meaning of the very same word. I am patient with you. Right? This is a description. I'm describing how I am towards you. This is in the question paper. I will say, now let me come up with a different version, if not the different an alternative meaning. The doctor is waiting for his patient. You see what I've done here? Now in this sentence, who is the doctor waiting for? His patient. So patient here is indeed a noun. So the two functions are not the same. Here it was a descriptive of how I am towards you, which can be a verb to arguably. And then here now it's what is a noun. Still the same word, the same pronunciation, but different functions. So please make sure that you do come across homonyms, questions around homonyms tomorrow. Please don't forget that homonyms don't recycle rather the function that is being used in a question paper. Come up with your own. And then questions around antonym and synonym, please expect them across the question paper. You may find a question about antonym and synonym in question 3 in an advert, or in question 4 in an advertisement, or even in question 1 in comprehension. So we know that antonym, these are words that simply mean what? The opposite. And then synonym, words that mean the same there, but they are written how? Differently. If I don't want to say you are clever, I can say that you are smart. If I don't want to say something is neat, I can say something is clean. So here, for you to win across all these concepts, you must have a very rich vocabulary. You must have a rich vocabulary, because it's all about vocabulary. So grade 12, these are the predictions for tomorrow's paper, question 5. Revise them individually, and thereafter take any previous question paper, tackle question 5, applying the rules, and once more, good luck. nail that paper tomorrow.